I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. If you've been looking at our website, starborninstitute.org, you'd already know that the title of tonight's show is A Battle Royale. And that is because you may be tempted to get in something that was a really knockdown, drag-out battle this week, and I really advise you not to. But the reason why that can be around somewhere in all of our lives is because there are 6 planets. 60% of all the planets in the heavens are in a very harsh T-cross among fixed signs. And fixed signs don't budge. They just sort of continue on following their own beliefs, and they generally are not willing to follow anyone else's. And that could result in a battle royale. And so that simply means that with these 6 planets in such a harsh aspect, there could be there could be emotions that are running very high right now, and there could be people who are hurling harsh accusations toward other people intentionally in order to create a lot of noise or confusion, or sort of to stir things up. And the reason why it might be intentional is because that noise and confusion could create havoc, or could even harm people, or cause a lot of concern about our homes and our families. Because today, the Moon and Mars are exactly conjunct each other in Aquarius. They're at 14 degrees, both of them. And 14 is a number that reduces to 5, a scattering number. So a lot of people could be scattering their forces this week, and some of them could be debating or arguing about financial affairs, because that Mars and the Moon in Aquarius, which rules the future, are squaring 4 planets in the financial signs. So the Moon and Mars are squaring Uranus in Taurus. Mars is a malefic planet, and so is Uranus. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius as well, but it's not in good aspect for the sign it rules. And in fact, Uranus rules things that go through the air, such as the internet and computers, and it rules space and aviation and electronics, but it's in a fixed financial sign. And it also rules sudden surprising change and volatility. So there could be a battle royale about something that involves greed, or involves your investments, or can involve anger or fights about money. So that's why I suggest you don't get in any conversations about those things this week, because not only would you lose, but so would someone else, and you could be jeopardizing future funding in one way or another, because remember, Mars and the Moon are in Aquarius, the sign of the future. But they're also squaring 3 other planets in a financial sign. They are squaring Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter, which are all in Scorpio. Scorpio rules money coming in from some other source, and so it rules funding. And so this is a time when there could be a battle royale about any kind of money that you might be expecting from your investments, or from another source, like the employer that you work for, or the government, or a family member. And so there could be fights about that, and nothing will be resolved. Whether you're fighting on a high level about money and your investments, or whether you're fighting about the family budget or money that you expect to come in, nothing will be resolved. And that's why you should not get in a battle royale this week. You would lose and jeopardize your future as well. And that is because these 6 planets in fixed signs are not going to budge. So it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to get in a battle royale. You just may be sorely tempted or goaded into it, but you don't have to be. And that is because these 6 planets that aren't getting along at all and aren't budging either are so they're in conflict, but by themselves, they're all being trimed by other planets in the same element, and that can be very harmonious. So why don't you go to plan B? In other words, sort of don't go straight into the storm, but instead try to go around it a little bit and still achieve success or some sort of truce, because I think you could right now, particularly if you did 2 things and did them all week. The first one is, no matter what, we all need to control our anger. You really have to keep a lid on your anger. No matter who says what to you or what situation you get in or how you really feel inside, control that anger, because it's going to get you in trouble too, and it won't resolve anything. And the second thing that we all need to do is contain your animosity. In other words, even if you're not mad at whoever you're currently talking to, you could be mad at somebody else, or they could be angry at you, or you could feel as if you had been the victim of some situation, and you could be harboring animosity within you, but you need to contain it. This isn't the time to bring up how right you are on something, because you could be right. This just isn't the time to bring it up. So if you control your anger and contain your animosity, then you can get around a battle royale. How could you do that? Well, it depends on what aspects are occurring among these 6 planets that are in conflict. There are good aspects among them. First of all, there are no planets in the fire signs at all. But there are trines in the air and the earth and the water signs. So for instance, let's look at that a little more closely. The sun today is in Libra, and it's trining that moon in Aquarius and that aggressive Mars. So that's a good aspect because it's very harmonious. And those 3 planets are also trining the sign of Gemini, which rules easy transitional change or temporary or part-time things. So it may be possible right now, rather than getting in a battle royale, for you to suggest some sort of temporary solution to something. Okay, maybe it's not going to be a final answer to whatever quandary you find yourself in, but if you're suggesting a temporary solution, or if someone else is making that suggestion to you, well, that's better than nothing, and it might work out, so you could give that a try. Or instead, you might suggest some sort of trial period when you are willing to go along with somebody else, but that trial period should have an ending date on it. Okay, it's like it's not supposed to go on forever. It is supposed to be just a trial period. And if you suggest that and you agree to that, you might be surprised that whoever else is participating after the trial period is over, they may not like the conditions of that. They may suggest something better instead. So you have nothing to lose by that. Or in the end, you might just suggest a timeout. You may say to somebody else, or even to a group or an organization, I'd like to take a time out and consider my other options. Be sure you say that, because that's putting somebody else on notice that you know you have other options and you want to take a time out to consider them. Well, that's fair, and it also gives the other party or the other organization a period of time to consider their options, and who knows what could come out of that. But remember, the object is to achieve some sort of peace or temporary truce that goes beyond fighting. And gets away from why you might be angry and gets a little bit more toward reconciling some situation. And then among the earth signs, there are also trines. Uranus, that planet of volatility, is trining in Taurus, is trining a well-placed Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, and those 3 planets are trining the sign of Virgo. Since these are practical, hard-working signs, it might just be that you'd like to concentrate or suggest focusing your conversation on practical matters such as work or health or your long-term security or your investments. So rather than play the blame game right now, maybe you could say, you know, I really want to talk not only about my current expenses, but what the future projections are for my expenses. In other words, you need to take something into account that you aren't really sure of, because there could be costs in the future, such as healthcare costs, or such as the costs of setting up a retirement plan that you have to consider right now. And someone else may be willing to sort of sit down and go over that in a close examination as well. And that would be with the goal of having high standards being met. And the reason why is Saturn is a planet of high standards, and it is so well placed that everyone is going to have to live up to high standards. And so that could work out. The third thing you could try, since there are now 4 planets in water signs, more planets than any other element, it can be that you can address some sort of relationship problem, and it doesn't have to be a problem even with you. It could be that there are things going on behind the scenes that demand that the truth comes out right now. In other words, since Neptune in Pisces is trining Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter in Scorpio, and those 4 planets are trining the sign of Cancer, which is America's sun sign and rules our homes and families and feelings, this can be a time that people really do have to just plain say, look, I want to know the truth about something. Let's lay all our cards on the table. And if they do that, and you're dealing with the truth, okay, you might not like it, but if you control your anger and contain your animosity, you can get beyond that. And it might be that justice will have to be done in one way or another. It might be that somebody has to pay for their mistakes. But once that gets going, that could assure all of us in our homes and our families and in our country that we are restoring trust in each other. And, you know, the truth and trust go together. And so we, the people, could benefit. So whether there is a battle royale coming out because the people intentionally want to make a smokescreen of confusion or noise, that's simply not going to resolve anything, and they may know that. They may be guilty of something behind the scenes. So we have to get beyond that and make sure that the truth comes out and justice is done so that we, the people, can feel safe. And not only in our homes and with our family members, but so that we can trust the other organizations that can be caring for us. And that is possible as long as you don't get in a battle royale. Don't fight about anything this week. Not only will you lose, but you will jeopardize your future as well. All right, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, this is the time when you might not quite have a leg to stand on. And the reason why is there are no planets in the fire sign, so there's nothing supporting your sign. And the sun in Libra, which is well fortified, is actually opposing your sun sign. And there isn't anything in your sun sign, so it's just, it represents somebody who's rather nice, or it can represent the letter of the law, which you may have to follow a little bit more closely, particularly if it's requiring you to meet high standards, because Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn are squaring your sun as well. So I think you will have to live up to high standards, but all of us are going to have to do that in order to get beyond things that are hidden and get them out in the open and restore trust for all of our safety and security. So I think that there is the possibility that somebody is leaving you. It could be a partner, Libra rules partnership, but it also can be that you have to conform a little bit more closely to a legal contract or the law in one way or another. So I hope you do that, because that way you can avoid a battle royale. All right, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, this is a time when I think that you have to really be on your guard. And the reason why is that, yes, there is a beneficial trine among the earth signs, meaning that Uranus in Taurus, your sign, is being trined beautifully by a staunch Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, and they are trining the sign of Virgo. So this may be a good time for you not to be angry, not to fight, not to be stubborn, but instead just talk about current expenses or investments or projected expenses down the road, or even your long-term security. Those things you'd be on safe ground discussing in one way or another. But at the same time, the reason you have to be on your guard is because that Mars and Moon in Aquarius are squaring Uranus in your sign. There could be a sudden change of fortune in your life, Taurus. And that is because Uranus in your sign is also opposing Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter in Scorpio. So some money that you had been expecting to come your way either might be on hold, and particularly if you argue about it, it won't be coming at all. In other words, you could really jeopardize your future prospects right now by being argumentative in any way. Don't get sucked into an argument, turn your back on it, save it for another day, or suggest a timeout. That would be best for you this week. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, This is a time when I think you've got a lot going for you, because that sun in Libra is trining your sun, and so are the planets, the moon and Mars in Aquarius. So you've got the lights trining your sun, and that simply means that a legal matter or a partnership issue is going to look pretty good for you right now, Gemini. And also, if you need to engage with other people that have a lot of energy to work on a future project, that might be a good idea, because I think you'd get a lot of help with that right now. There's only one planet in a mutable sign, Neptune in Pisces. That means you still don't know who to trust, but this is a time for you to sort of get busy, Gemini, while the stars are with you. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, this is a time when you need to be careful. And the reason why is that yours is a water sign and it rules our emotions. All water signs do. And so you could have heightened emotions, or there can be people that are creating a lot of noise and hurling harsh accusations toward people, and you could get caught up in that. Your feelings could even be hurt right now in one way or another. But these people are doing that intentionally as a smokescreen to divert your attention away from finding out what the real truth is behind the scenes. However, Neptune in Pisces, which rules that, is trining your sun, and so are 3 more planets, Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter in Scorpio. So I think you're going to do just fine, Cancer, but there could still be a legal or partnership issue that has to be straightened out, or you two would have to meet high standards. But everyone has to do that right now. As long as you can control your emotions, you probably could get to the bottom of something right now and make sure that the truth was sort of on the table, and that good decisions could be made so justice could be done and trust could be restored. You may have a hand in that, but if you do, you're going to work things out really well, as long as you control your anger and contain your animosity. So keep your emotions under control. It's very important that you do that, particularly because it could help others as well. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, I think you're facing a true dilemma. And the reason why is that, first of all, there's no support among the fire signs because there aren't any planets there. And then all 6 planets in these fixed signs, which are in a harsh T-cross, are all squaring and opposing your sun sign, Leo. Oh boy, you mustn't get in a battle royale no matter what. Your ego could be threatened. Your reputation could be in tatters. You could be attacked on all sides, but you mustn't respond. In other words, you've got to control your anger, contain your animosity, and just be cool, because you could lose a lot right now, Leo. And that's because Mars and the Moon are opposing your sun sign. There could be a woman or a family or home issue that isn't working out well, and you could end up paying for that, and that's why you need to keep quiet right now, or try to be conciliatory instead of fighting. And also Uranus and Taurus is squaring your sun, indicating a sudden change of fortune. And the 3 planets in Scorpio are also squaring your sun, indicating that there's some money that's going to go in a different direction. It may not go to you after all, Leo. And so you need to be very, very careful right now. The one bright spot is that the sun in Libra is sextiling your sun. And so that simply means that if you feel so upset that you really think you're going to get into a battle royale, instead, you might be wiser to have someone else do your talking for you at this time, a mediator or a counselor or even a lawyer. Those are things that are ruled by Libra. And it might be wise of you to let somebody else do the talking right now, Leo, because anything you say in an argumentative way not only jeopardizes your current situation, but it really is going to be costly in the future. So, mum's the word this week. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time when I think that you can do well by sticking to the facts. In other words, if you're concerned about your work, your health, or your long-term security, or your investments, you're in the right place. And the reason why is that Uranus and Taurus is trining your sun, and so are Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. So you're on very safe ground if you just look at the facts. But if somebody decides they're going to stir up emotions or sort of egg you on to get into some battle royale, you too will lose. And the reason why you lose is because that isn't the way you operate. So you'd be sort of on foreign ground, and that could contribute to your losses. There's also the possibility you could be very disappointed in a relationship as the truth comes out and you realize that you had been hoodwinked in some way. That's why I suggest you concentrate on the things you're good at, which is work, health, and facts and details, and results. You're very good at doing your duty and coming up with results, so stick to that. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is a time with the sun in your sign being trined by the moon and Mars in Aquarius, and those 3 planets trining the sign of Gemini, when you don't have to get in a battle royale because you could be the calm voice in the room that suggests a temporary solution or suggests a trial period for something and that has an end date to it. Or you may just say to people, look, I'd like a timeout right now to consider my options. And be sure, and that would be putting them on notice that you want to consider other options, and that way they perhaps had better pay a little more attention to what your concerns are. But you might achieve peace and success by taking a route that goes around some sort of argument rather than getting in one instead. I urge you not to do that. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, your sign has 3 planets in it, Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter, and they're all trining Neptune and Pisces. And so that simply means that if you can stay out of a battle royale, if you can control your anger and contain your animosity, okay, so that you are focused a little bit more on just having people put their cards on the table, telling the truth or having the truth revealed in some way, and then making sure that justice is done, which is what your sign rules, and there's good planets in your sign, then you could be on safe ground. But if you argue about anything, you'll lose, and you will also lose future income, so don't do that. And on top of that, if you yourself are involved in anything that had been a hidden plan behind the scenes, when that comes out, you may lose financially because you would have to pay for that one way or another. So you would reap as you have sown. But if you're wanting to make sure that justice is done so that all of us, we the people, can feel safe in our homes and with our families and be able to have trust restored in our institutions that guard us and help us, then that would be sort of a noble thing for you to do. So good luck. I hope you take the high road. All right, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, this is simply a time without any planets in the fire signs that it would be good if you took a time out. And the reason why is that you may want to say to yourself, okay, I'm hearing people that are engaged in a battle royale. I'm hearing accusations being hurled furiously at other people. There's a lot of noise and confusion and havoc, but what does it all mean? Your sign is ruled by Jupiter. And your sign is the sign of intelligence and religion and philosophy and the higher mind. And so this may be a better time for you, Sagittarius, to simply stand back a little bit and say, you know, I don't want to get involved in a battle royale or anything else. What higher road could I take, or what higher standards could I meet? So this may be a time of quiet introspection for you instead, while justice is being done behind the scenes. And you could be in agreement with that as well, but you may not want to be a participant in it. You could simply want it to end well in a way that could make us all happy and restore trust. That would be a noble effort. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time when I think that I don't think you're going to get involved in a battle royale. Yours is not a fixed sign. However, you are going to be involved in some legal or partnership matter that has to be resolved, and the sooner the better. It may not involve talk. It might involve just following the rules and regulations and making sure you've got all your legal steps taken care of before you decide to make some sort of a change. And I think you are on the verge of making a change. and that could be a deeper commitment to something you've always wanted to do. So I think it's going to be a good change. But still, the Sun in Libra is squaring your Sun, and that means you're going to have to consider a partner's point of view, or else you're going to have to follow a lot of legal steps carefully. And I think that before you do any of that, you should just sit back and think a little bit and give a closer examination to where you want to be down the road. What is the end game for you? What matters most to you? That's what you should be thinking about. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, your sign has both the Moon and Mars in it today, exactly conjunct at 14 degrees, a number that reduces to 5, a scattering number. So you might feel like scattering your forces, but it won't do you any good, Aquarius. You need to really concentrate on something that is fair and balanced. And that's because that Sun in Libra is trining the Moon and Mars in your sign, and together those 3 planets are trining the sign of Gemini. If you took a route that involves suggesting a solution rather than fighting about one, that would be good. It might protect your financial interests, and it certainly would not threaten your future in any way. So I think you need to sort of stand back, avoid a battle royale at all costs, because if you get in one, that Moon and Mars are squaring 4 planets in the fixed financial signs. You would lose money, and you may lose your reputation as well. So instead, you need to sort of stick to the law and to things that are fair and balanced. So if you suggest a temporary solution or a timeout or a trial period on something, that might be a good idea for right now, Aquarius, and it would sort of kick the can down the road, but it would also delay any confrontation, and you need to be careful that you don't get in one, because you would lose and nothing would be resolved. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, this is a time when you need to work really hard on telling the truth. And it doesn't mean that you've been lying. It does mean, though, that you might have avoided saying a few things that really need to come out right now. You need to put all your cards on the table, Pisces, while you have so much support behind you. And that's because Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter in Scorpio are all trining your Sun, and together, along with Neptune in your sign, those 4 planets are trining the sign of Cancer, which rules not only our country, but our home and families. So there is a home or family issue that you don't need to get in a battle royale about at all. There are no planets squaring or opposing your Sun sign, Pisces. You just need to sit down, maybe explain how you feel about something, and then just listen as someone else explains how they feel about something. Maybe by better understanding what is behind a lot of things right now, you can help bring a matter to justice and solve a problem, or at least start to solve a problem without fighting about it. Because your sign is not a fighting sign, but every single one of us has to control our anger and contain our animosity in the next week, because there's just too much to lose if we don't. And that it pertains to you too, Pisces. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see our show, read our blog, and hear our podcast on our website, starborninstitute.org.